We've said it over and over again on this channel. The left is at war with reality, and reality always wins. And the latest victim of this lesson is the ultra-woke WNBA. They are in a full-blown panic after two former NBA first-round draft picks called their bluff on trans athletes. This is so absolutely brilliant. This one move by these male athletes, this single move has blown the league's entire woke house of cards wide open. And now the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball Association, is scrambling to hold an emergency meeting just to figure out, I kid you not, exactly what is a woman. This takes Clown World to a whole new level, but as we're about to see, reality bites back, and it bites hard. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot Professor, here to help you make sense of the madness with breaking news and analysis that you're not going to get anywhere else. So you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button and talk about madness. Many of you may be familiar with the WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who plays guard for the Indiana Fever. She lit quite the fuse a few weeks back when an ESPN feature quoted her opposition towards biological men competing in women's sports. She said she wanted to protect young girls both on court as well as in the locker room. They shouldn't have to expose themselves before biological men or compete against them. And she doubled down the next day, calling her position, well, kind of common sense, right? And she insisted that she would never falter in that belief while denying any hatred toward the trans community. Again, it has nothing to do with hatred. It has everything to do with reality. That's it. Well, you can qualify your comments all you want. Obviously, that's not going to appease the woke cult of grievance. Her comments triggered a massive backlash in the ultra-left WNBA. I don't know if you know, but polls show that it is the most left-wing sport on the planet. But she drew public criticism from her own teammates, who apparently were perfectly fine with competing against biological males, so they claim. Now, the irony is that this controversy has exposed a rather embarrassing loophole for this league. Many of these female athletes apparently were not aware that the WNBA's newly signed collective bargaining agreement states explicitly, quote, only players who are women are eligible to play. Now, of course, the loophole here is it never actually defines what a woman is. So that ambiguity gave the woke leftists that predominate the league the cover to issue a statement denouncing hate, abuse, and the demonization of transgender people. But critics notice that they denounce that supposed intolerance without ever addressing the whole eligibility question directly. What precisely is a woman? Can trans athletes actually compete in the WNBA? Well, that loophole, the lack of definition, and the absurdity of the league's virtue signaling against Sophie Cunningham triggered a response from two former NBA players and a full-blown crisis for the league. So on Friday, former NBA player Enes Kanter Freedom took to social media and announced that he is officially declaring himself a WNBA prospect for the 2027 draft. Quote, after careful consideration and reviewing the current eligibility guidelines, I am officially declaring myself a WNBA prospect. If simply declaring who you are is all that's required, then I meet every single requirement necessary to compete in the WNBA. End quote. Freedom went on to say that he and his team had, quote, carefully examined the WNBA's eligibility criteria and governing framework surrounding self-identification and inclusion, and that he was simply asking that the current rules be applied equally to everyone, including himself. And he signed off with, see you at the training camp. Now, it's got to be one of the single best trolling in the history of professional sports, but as it turns out, it was just the beginning. Literally hours later, another former NBA first-round pick, Royce White, who was actually drafted by the Houston Rockets, announced that he, too, is declaring for the 2027 WNBA draft. White posted on X, quote, "I identify as a sometimes identifying transgender woman. My wig is in the mail." And then in a video statement and an appearance on Fox News, White doubled down, saying, "I'm transgender. I'm a woman. I identify as sometimes identifying as a woman for the purposes of professional basketball. So I'll be declaring for the WNBA draft in 2027 as well." And he even threatened legal action, telling Fox News Digital that if the league denies him, he'll be filing a discrimination lawsuit as the WNBA against the WNBA based on their own virtue signaling, based on their own public pro-trans comments and their refusal to define what a woman is. Now, bravo to these two professional athletes, right? And boy, does it not tell you how times have changed since, say, like 2020 or 2021, where I doubt, to be honest, well, maybe they would have, but I doubt most people would not do this back then because the cancel culture was so out of control. Neither of these men actually believe they're a woman, obviously, whatever that is. This is a brilliant, biting protest using reality as your picket. What these two biological males are doing is they're holding up a mirror to the WNBA's own rules, and they're forcing the league to either accept two grown men on their rosters, and you can be assured that that number will only grow, or admit publicly that biological sex is real and that it matters in sports competition. And gang, that is exactly the trap the ultra-woke left built for themselves. So now the WNBA finds itself with exactly three options, and every single one of them is a nightmare for this league, given their woke preconditions here. Option one, declare that these two men are not women. I just bottom line, you can't play because you're not women. And it means actually defining what a woman is, and thereby admitting biology is real and turning their back on their past public statements denouncing transphobia. Now they are the transphobes. Option two, let them play, which would, of course, be an absolute disaster for the integrity of the league and for the safety of the women who'd have to compete against these two men. Their teams, whatever teams they're on, they would win every single game from here on in, and on in perpetuity. Option three, announce that only players born female can compete. Essentially the same as option one, but it's just worded carefully. I think, by the way, they're going to go with that option. And but if they didn't, if the league, say, if they did nothing, simply refuses to draft them, well, then they open themselves up to a lawsuit alleging discrimination. And they also demonstrate themselves to be all talk and total hypocrites. So this is the very definition of checkmate, precisely because it's the very definition of reality. And speaking of reality, often bruising reality, are you feeling the whiplash in the markets of late, right? We're seeing record volatility and wild swings in the economy. If you're like most hardworking patriots, a salaried professional, a career person, or a small business owner, you're probably exhausted by it all. Your purchasing power is going to continue to shrink, which is exactly why what I'm about to tell you is so important. What if you could flip the script? What if this extreme market movement is actually presenting unique and powerful money-making opportunities that everyday folks can take advantage of, just like the elites do? Imagine having a simple, proven, step-by-step system, something that's specifically designed to be learned by regular people with busy lives, something you could actually picture yourself doing in just minutes a day, that puts you in a position to take advantage of the very same opportunities the elites have when they've always kept it to themselves. Now, I know what you might be thinking. I was frankly skeptical about it myself. We've all been conditioned to believe that taking control of our own financial destiny is just too risky, or that you have to be some Wall Street Insider to make it work. But the truth is, once you understand how to harness this volatility, this is the best business in the world. And you can do it from the comfort of your own home. That's why I want to introduce you to my good friend Troy Noonan, the backpack trader. Troy's been doing this for over 30 years. He's broken down the complex world of trading into a simple, step-by-step method that any busy professional can follow. And I know it works because I'm actually a member of his program. The best part about Troy's approach, he teaches you how to prove the system works for you before you risk a single penny of your hard-earned money in the markets. You'd see the results first, prove the plan will succeed for you before you risk a single penny. This is a real difference maker. Troy is hosting a free live training session, Backpack Trader Live, happening on Tuesday, August 18th at 7 p.m. Eastern. Now, when you register, you'll immediately receive his 12 Powers to Successful Trading ebook, absolutely free. These are the core principles distilled from over 30 years of real trading experience, written in plain language that anyone can understand, and they're going to give you a genuine head start and a powerful advantage going into live training. And if you show up live, you'll unlock an exclusive bonus, and that's the private replay of our Turley Roundtable. This was a closed-door event with Troy, myself, and fellow patriots, and the insights there that they shared were absolutely incredible. It's not available anywhere else publicly. So click the link below or go to backpacktrader.com/TurleyFreedom right now. Reserve your spot for Tuesday, August 18th, 7 p.m. Eastern. That's backpacktrader.com/TurleyFreedom. Your bright, beautiful future is waiting. Let's go get it together. The WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert, just sent out a rather panicked, urgent memo to every team in the league on Friday afternoon, confirming that a special task force made up of team presidents and general managers would meet this week specifically to hash this out. What exactly are they hashing out? What is this woke commissioner of the WNBA and all these team presidents and general managers, what are they all, quote, hashing out? You know precisely what it is. We're just having too much fun with this. They're going to have to hash out what the hell is a freaking woman. I'm sure Justice Autopen Ketanji Jackson is wondering how many biologists will be present at those meetings. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. When the commissioner of the WNBA, the Women's National Basketball League, has to convene a task force just to figure out who's allowed to play in the Women's League, you know the woke chickens have officially come home to roost. This whole meltdown at the WNBA is actually a perfect window into something much deeper. And that's the meltdown of liberal leftism itself. What we're seeing here is a genuine philosophical fracture running straight through the heart of modern liberalism. And that fracture is the clash between what turns out to be two incommensurable values. Two values that liberals claim you could hold simultaneously, but as it turns out, you can't. Fairness and inclusion. Fairness and inclusion. So for decades, the left acted as if these two values were perfectly compatible, as if you could have total inclusion and total fairness at the very same time. No contradictions, no trade-offs. But reality, as it always does, has come knocking. Sports competition is based on the fundamental principle of fairness. It's fairness. That's why cheating isn't allowed. Fairness is the bedrock principle apart from which you do not have sports competition. You only end up having spectacle, right? A predetermined or meaningless exercise rather than a genuine contest. But here's the rub. Fairness, by definition, excludes. Fairness, by definition, excludes. At the very least, it excludes cheating, right? But fairness, by definition, always excludes. It excludes heavyweights from fighting lightweights. It excludes professionals from competing against amateurs. And it excludes biological men from competing against biological females. That's the real reality that is so freaking out the woke WNBA right now. Without fairness, there is no WNBA, which means that their woke virtue signaling is, in the end, destroying the very basis for why they have a basketball league in the first place. President Trump said it best. Everything woke turns to dung, in the King James version, of course. This is why virtually every sports league and association on the planet, around the world, including the Olympics, is busy banning biological males from female sports competition. It's not hard. Reality is just simply reasserting itself against ideology. Sanity is winning, slowly. But it is winning. Even the wokest league in professional sports, even the WNBA, cannot escape the basic God-given common sense truth that men and women are different, and that fairness in the end always trumps feelings.